morning. We're going to provide an update on the state's response to the latest storm. We're joined this morning by Tom Prendergast, the Interim Director of the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, by Jerry Hauer, the Director of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, by Gil Quinones, the Head of the New York Power Authority, and by the Governor. And so we'll go through a quick briefing for you, beginning with, I think the Governor is going to lead off.
Good. Good morning. Thank you. As we all know by now, and as promised, we had a severe winter storm hit the state of New York. It had statewide consequences. We had snow all throughout the state, upstate, north of Westchester, Rockland. We had about 4 to 6 inches, but nothing that was significantly out of the ordinary. New York City, about 8 to 11 inches. And the hardest hit area in the state was Long Island, was Nassau and Suffolk County. Nassau had somewhere between 12 and 24 inches, more as you moved further east, and Suffolk had over 30 inches in some areas, and Suffolk has sustained significant damage and significant hardship as a result of the storm. I spoke with County Executive Ed Mangano from Nassau County. He said most of the roads are clear and they are comfortable that they are in control of the situation. I spoke to Steve Ballone, who's the County Executive of Suffolk County, and as I said, they have a number of complications. Apparently there were many people who were on the road last night during the commuting hours and were stranded on the Long Island Expressway and several other roads. So roughly about 150 people were stranded in vehicles. We have no reports of fatalities, but that was a complication for clearing of the snow. The vehicles obviously become stranded, and then the plows and the crews can't do their work. Suffolk County is going to receive help from companies all across the state. We are deploying several hundred plows to the area right now. I spoke with New York City Mayor Mike Bloomberg about the city, and the city is in a stable condition. So Mayor Bloomberg is also going to be sending resources to Suffolk County. We thank him for that. And Nassau County, County Executive Ed Mangano, obviously the neighboring county, is going to be sending resources. So there'll be additional equipment and personnel en route to Suffolk literally as we speak, and equipment coming from other parts of the state also. This state had consequences, but nothing like our neighboring states. State of Connecticut, the situation was worse, and the situation in the state of Massachusetts was much, much worse. I spoke to Governor Malloy of Connecticut and Governor deVal Patrick of Massachusetts. We're in a position where we're going to be sending resources to both of those states. We'll send plow equipment, personnel to Connecticut and also Massachusetts. We'll be also sending utility crews to Connecticut and Massachusetts. In terms of power outages, we have an issue in Suffolk County. About 10,000 people are out of power, and we've been working with the utility companies there, and we'll be sending resources, but we can also send resources to Connecticut and Massachusetts, and we'll be doing that. And they were hit much harder than the state of New York, so we wish them well, and I wish their governors well. I ask the people of the state to use consideration today. If you really don't need to leave the house for an urgent matter, don't leave the house. There are crews all over the state working to clear the roads. It becomes more complicated when people are on the roads. It becomes more complicated when a person comes out and gets stuck, and now the plows have to worry about moving that car as opposed to just clearing a path. So stay home, please, unless you have urgent business to be out on the roads. And I also want to thank all the first responders. We had people out there all night long who did great work, especially on the island, especially getting stranded motorists out of their cars. And these first responders put their lives at risk to help others. So we thank them very much for their service and their heroism. And again, we ask New Yorkers to show consideration so the first responders don't have to do double duty, that they don't have to be taking care of an immediate situation as well as clearing the roads. And I also thank my team who worked throughout the night and as usual did a very good job. We're getting too much experience in emergency management with Sandy and Lee and Irene, and these winter storms. So the good news is we've had quite a bit of experience at the cooperation, coordination with our local government counterparts, and I truly hope that we don't have any more experience in the coming weeks and months. But with that, let me turn it over to Tom Prendergast to give you an update on the MTA.
Thank you, Governor. New York City subway and bus service is at or close to normal service levels. The commuter railroads are slightly different. The close-in services will be running very soon, if they're not running now. Outer services later. The Harlem line from Southeast to Grand Central will be an hourly service, as will the Hudson line from Poughkeepsie to Grand Central. Long Island Railroad, Port Washington branch, Huntington to Penn Station, and Babylon to Penn Station will be on twice-hourly service, every 2 hours service. Further out east, as the governor talked about, where the snow levels were much higher, that will be much later today or into the weekend. The New Haven line, Stamford into Grand Central later today, New Haven probably later in the weekend. We've got 2 to 4 foot snow drifts. For the latest updates, check the MTA website for specifics, but that's the general summary.
Jerry Howard?
Yeah, thank you, Governor. We got through the night very well. Fortunately, most people listened to the governor's admonition to stay home if you don't have to be out on the streets. All I can add to that is today people are going to be plowing and trying to get power back on. So again, if you have no reason to be out in the streets, let the people do their work, let the crews get to the power lines, and stay home. You don't have to be outside. Thanks.
Great. And we have Gil Quinones from the New York Power Authority.
Thank you, Governor. As the governor mentioned, it's largely was a Long Island issue in terms of power outages. Approximately 35,000 were affected during the event. As the governor mentioned, on Long Island, there's about 10,000 customers that are still being restored. The focus now is to coordinate the snow plowing activities to make sure the national grid crews can access the areas that need to be restored. The governor also mentioned that in areas upstate where we weren't hit as hard, that we are now, through our mutual assistance program, will be sending some of those crews and contractors to New England, both in Connecticut and in Massachusetts. As the governor mentioned, today there are power restorations going on. If there's a downed wire, you see a downed wire, please assume that it is live with electricity, and be careful, don't approach them, call the utility immediately.
Thank you, Gil. Once again, prudence dictates if you don't have to be out, don't be out, especially on Long Island, Nassau, and Suffolk County. With that, if there's any additional updates throughout the day that are necessary to communicate, we will. We don't expect it. We expect this just to play out and for us now to do our work, and the first responders and crews to do their work, and we get back to normal as soon as possible. Any questions? Great. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.